Welcome to Movie and a Beer, everybody. This is Dan Kapersky. And on this wonderful episode, we have our two awesome co-hosts that are always with us.
It's Blake, and it's my weekend.
It is.
It's Randall, and I haven't had a weekend since 2019.
I feel bad for bragging about my weekend.
Single parent.
Yeah, I took yesterday and today off, so I'm on my 4-day weekend, and it's kind of rough.
Shut up, Dan.
Thanks for joining us today. We have an interesting episode to discuss a movie called Judas and the Black Messiah, and we watched it with some friends, drinking some beers. I picked out a couple of specific fruity or non-standard stout beers because I wanted something that was going to be heavy, and one is like 5% and the other is 11%, so we could kind of compare and contrast. The film we knew was going to be big and heavy, and it's long. But there's a lot of, we've been talking about how do we want to even approach discussing it, because it's a historical drama. It's based off real events.
Following one of the chapters of the Black Panthers in Chicago.
Yep, 1960s.
So obviously very heavy subject matter.
Yeah, and valuable to today, and that was one of the reasons I suggested we watch it, because it actually, with all the things going on in society and with police brutality and shootings and the court hearings that are happening, I was like, oh, let's see where, the spark of, like he said, you can kill the freedom fighter, but you can't kill freedom.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
COVID came pretty close.
We seem to be at a good job. We're doing a good job as a crushing freedom.
Yeah.
But this has been a problem that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it's not like it's just been happening.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how do we talk about this without pissing somebody off?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's such a sensitive and important topic that I'm like, most of the time, I don't even know where to begin to have these conversations. But this film definitely I think the point of this film was to get to keep the conversation going about what's been happening in this country since the beginning of this country.
Yeah.
But this was a very hard film to watch.
I will say, in the film's defense, or maybe not in its defense, just one thing I liked about the film that I don't usually see in these kinds of, like you were saying, docudrama?
Yeah, I mean, it's a historical drama.
Yeah.
So it's based on historical events, but it's a drama.
You don't often see the infiltration aspect. The story being Lakeith, I always forget their actors' names. The
William O'Neill was the guy.
Yeah, William O'Neill.
Which one was he?
He's played by Lakeith Steinfeld, I think.
Yeah, Stanfield.
Just bad luck and bad decisions. Winds up having to, at the behest of the FBI, infiltrate a Black Panther group. I don't often see that in historical dramas about the Black Panthers. You usually see, here are the leaders, here's our movement, here's our opposition, which is still amazing. But I really liked seeing a little twist of, are they going to find this guy out? Are they going to...
Yeah.
He's acting real nervous, but no one seems to really notice. And
well, I mean, they were all nervous. I mean, either you were on or you weren't. And unfortunately, there were a lot of people who weren't on. The ones that were at the forefront and shooting the guns at people when they had to defend themselves, they were on. But everybody else was like, I don't want to die because they could just shoot me at any moment.
Yeah, black. I mean, if you were black in the '60s, you're probably nervous all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a crazy time for this country for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, so basically it follows this guy, William O'Neill, the character, and he gets involved to kind of track and report on what the Chicago chapter of the Black Panthers is doing, specifically Fred Hampton. And it does also kind of parallels what Fred Hampton goes through. He gets arrested, and he tries to build a coalition. And if you've seen any of the, I guess you'd say, trailers for the film, it does talk about that. It shows him with the crowds or building a coalition of, they get the Puerto Ricans.
The
and
Rainbow
get the other
Coalition.
Gaines, the Rainbow Coalition. And I don't know if that's where the word came from, but that's...
Fred Hampton, played by Daniel Kaluuya, probably most known for his role in Get Out as the lead.
Yeah.
I think he did great. I don't often see him in a lot of movies. He seems pretty even keel in his characters. I thought he was pretty interesting to see him, a big, loud personality, which you have to be to run a Black Panthers chapter.
Yeah, definitely.
I would imagine. I, again, can't make any claims whether or not.
As Randall was saying, it's been a challenge to kind of like, how do we want to frame what we want to talk about with the film? Mm-hmm. So we've been reading and looking at some of the reviews that have been posted on like IMDb and some of the other sources.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious. It's hard to get a good, how do you pull a synopsis of something and actually then start thinking about it. They say it's shallow and it's, it's not, the main character is really kind of just singular and driven. And it's like, well, yeah, it's a historical drama based on him. So yes, he was a driven person. And yes, he had humanity because he had a kid with one of the female, I guess you say activists that was with him, one of the people that was in his inner circle. So I loved the music. I love the cinematography.
Oh, the music was so good.
I was like, when we were watching it, I'm like, they probably didn't have to do a whole lot to get this scenery because there are parts of Chicago that still look like this.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, Chicago. Somebody mentioned Detroit, which I wouldn't be surprised by.
Yeah.
So that's that 1970s kind of look.
Great cinematography.
Oh, yeah.
An important film to watch. A long film. A film that I don't think should be overlooked in terms of importance and how it makes you feel. Because I think one of the things, how do you approach a subject like this, right? And like pick a story to focus on. You have to leave some things out, right? You have to focus on, you have to have a point of view. You have to have some opinions on that period of time and tell a story, right? Tell a story in 2 hours. And so of course you're going to get the reviews that say this wasn't accurate or they overlooked something. But I think really what the director was, I don't know, total speculation, but the director wants to make you feel what it must have been like to go through that, right?
Yeah.
To go through that experience. And this was a very graphic film. Like they did not shy away from how brutal the police were back then. And it just makes me wonder what we're not seeing today happening,
Well, it's only because of everyone has video cameras on their phones and everyone has one.
Right. But still, I'm sure there's so much that, we don't see, that gets lost.
Correct.
Director Shaka King, who also did Newlyweds and Mulligans. I'm not familiar with these movies, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other how I feel about them. But
well, let's see what he does next. What's he got going on next? Doesn't say. Okay. Well.
Oh shoot, he directed some episodes of Shrill, which I believe is based on Hulu kind of dramedy, following 80 Bryant from SNL.
Cool.
So I've seen some of his stuff.
Is it good?
I really liked it. It's set in Portland.
Oh.
As mentioned, we picked a couple of beers. We were actually had some friends over. We were watching with this in the living room. And we were doing a beer tasting, and we had a bunch of different beers. And unfortunately, we had a bunch of beers before we watched the film.
A lot of fun, funky beers.
And so our taste buds were a little whacked out. Luckily, we had leftover cans from that, and we were able to now try them again, which is really nice because they have a completely, I think, better and different profile than what I remembered.
I'd agree with a different profile. I reacted more to the taller of the two this time because my taste buds were still pretty fresh and...
So
they didn't get their stretches in.
I would say that you could watch and drink anything with this film at this point because you're going to want to pay attention to the film. One was big, one was just smooth. Both. I think I have a preference as to which one I like better, but just pick something that you're not going to be offended by when you watch it because you need to pay attention.
Because you're going to be offended by other things.
Yes,
like
the FBI.
how horrible the FBI apparently is.
Hiding stuff from within their own guys.
Oh my gosh.
Small spoiler alert, I guess.
Yeah, they treat each other. Actually, higher ups they don't care. They just abuse and manipulate anybody they can.
Real quick, sort of silly question. If you're watching a documentary or docuseries on something that's already happened, can it be a spoiler alert?
No, not really.
No.
Okay.
Everybody dies.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
Well, in the end, they kind of do.
Randall, your mascara is running.
Yeah.
Oh man, this film was heavy.
Heavy film, but I think we all agree. Carve out a couple hours to just mentally prepare to watch a heavy subject matter movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between the acting, the music, the cinematography, just everything all together, I think it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
By no means a bad film.
Just
Just
one you should
challenging.
mentally prepare for.
Yeah, if you're feeling like 2020 was a rough year and 2020 is not so great either, well, maybe just put it on hold.
Yeah. Do we have some spots that we want to, some shout outs that we want to do?
Yeah, we're going to forego the typical ad break because I felt kind of strange trying to make light of such a subject. But since we do mention that we were located in Portland, Oregon, I took a brief look online.
The interwebs.
And I found, those internet tubes. And found a few local organizations that serve Portland's black community you can donate to. Obviously, there's the Black Lives Matter PDX. They share info about local protests, increase awareness of racial injustice. I at this point, if you have access to anything internet, you know about Black Lives Matter. There's other ones I've never heard of. Brown Hope provides a bold vision of how to create platforms for Black, Brown, and Indigenous people to be seen, to love, and to lead. I was not aware they exist until I found this website. There's Elevate Oregon, builds relationships with urban youth to promote education, self-reliance, and leadership. And I'll hit you guys with one more. Big guy, the Portland NAACP. I keep forgetting that there's local chapters of these big organizations.
Yeah.
As if you don't know, they focus on ensuring the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons and eliminating racial hatred and discrimination. So, and if there's none of those, if you don't want to donate to those, if you want to donate to another one, I just typed into my search engine pro-Black groups in Portland. And you can just substitute your city if you're listening elsewhere. Help out.
Get involved.
Help us any way you can. My parent.
Silence is violence.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that'll be the ad break for this one.
Nice.
Next episode, we'll have something very silly, and you'll be like, "Oh, that Blake," as you roll your eyes.
Yes. It's fun.
Don't be afraid to have these conversations.
Yes.
It's hard.
Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your friends.
You're gonna mess it up, but
talk
the only
to
way
your
things
kids.
get better. Well, I think whatever anybody does, I think the first step is always to approach the topic with kindness. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no right way to talk about these things, but there is a right way to talk about beer.
Yes, there is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
a very cool looking can.
It's a really cool can. I like it. I've had it once before. This is Chocolate Orange Lateralis Imperial Stout from Lupulin Brewing Company out of Big Lake, Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. This is the Minnesota. This is the one
Yeah.
that got me doing the accent that everyone loves so much.
Yes. This can's really beautiful. I like it a lot. And the whole can is black except for the bottom part. So it's I don't know if it's a sleeve or not, but I know that there's a label on it. I think it's a sleeve, but the top portion, the ring portion, is also black. So it's a really interesting, cool, graphical.
It's an aesthetic you don't see a lot in
fruit.
cans.
And I got it because I like orange and chocolate. And like I said, I had it before in a tasting that we did with our friends, and I just completely forgot that it was an 11% beer.
Big beer for a big movie.
Yeah, basically
Perfect for a school night.
the cool thing is that this beer is made with Quebec yeast, which we've talked about before. And Quebec yeast is this strain that allows you to do both ales and lager fermentation. It ferments out at both warmer and cooler temps, so it's going to give you some funk. It's a wild yeast strain that's been cultured down, and they've so it has a little bit of the way it was described is that the cocoa nibs and the orange peel that were put in post fermentation were there just to accentuate and give the bitterness to it, because the kind of little mild funkiness on it. I like this more than the other one because of the complexity of the flavor profile.
Real quick, are there a lot of yeasts that they can do at those multiple temperatures?
The Quebec strain of yeast, it's not just a single yeast.
Okay.
So Quebec is a label of the style of yeast. And if you get Zymergy, if you're a member of the American Homebrewing Association or the Brewers Association of America,
vaguely familiar.
They have a magazine I subscribe, and their most recent episode actually has a breakdown of 6 different Quebec strains that are available from homebrewing supply shops or professional breweries.
That works out.
And they talk about the differentiations of it. And the one that they used for this was really nice because it didn't really give a lot of funk, but it did give a little bit of I would say almost a floral character to it a little.
I think floral works. There's certainly what I would describe as a light kick.
Yeah.
It was enough for me to... you're not going to get Sour Patch Face, but it's there.
Yeah. And the bitterness, the cocoa bitterness are cocoa bitters, and not... When we just poured it today, just now, I was like, wow, this is way more cocoa than I thought it was.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot more cocoa now that I haven't had a collection of other big beers to warm up the old taste buds. I liked it. I think I like the other one a little more, but we can get into that in a second.
Yeah. Randall, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I didn't realize how strong it was, and I might have had too much. So I don't know if I want any more.
That's fair.
That's totally fair.
I'll take Randall's share.
Yeah,
it's a big one, and we were just passing it around, giving tasters to everybody. We're like, here, have some of this. And
I
we're
kept
like,
tasting.
Yeah, by the way, it's a big beer. I didn't realize it until way after the fact. Oh well.
I thought it was just the movie getting me down, and I realized it was the movie and the beer.
Yeah. So.
.com.
The other
Touche.
The other one that we got was from Pono Brewing, which is here in Portland, Oregon, and it's called All My Love, and it literally just got released pretty recently, a week or two ago.
I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yeah, it's a newer beer. It's a seasonal that they do, and this is a berry stout.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, well, it's raspberry is basically the primary fruit they used on it, and it's kind of a thin, shallow, an American style stout. Almost, it's bordering on export style, which means it's going to be a thinner body, not as much
right.
roast, lower alcohol.
It was tasty.
It's very tasty.
This one is pretty tasty.
The berry shines very clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It doesn't taste like a syrupy berry flavor. It tastes like real fruit, which is what I appreciate about it.
Some tartness there.
Yeah, you can feel the bubbles, and it feels like a liquid instead of a syrup, like you
Yeah.
were saying. So between these two, what do you guys think fit the movie better? I'm leaning towards help me out, the Letterhouse.
The Letterhouse, yes.
I feel like the Letterhouse matched the movie for me, just for the big flavor. I had to drink it slowly, which went with a long movie. I kept thinking this works really well. I tried the other one and thought this is okay, not matching up like I hoped it would.
I like the Letterhouse. Like I said, I like that one better out of the two altogether, but I think it went better with the movie. But again, we had also different flavor profiles because our
That's
palates
true.
had gotten blown up by a bunch of weird beers that we had before. So
It was
I
a
don't know.
coalition of beers.
Yes,
Rainbow
it was.
coalition.
It was a
of beers.
rainbow. It literally was because
Nicely done.
we were doing all kinds of sours and funky what
That's
they call
right.
big. They call them milkshake or they're juicy
Like smoothie beers.
smoothie beers that you have to roll the can before you open it because there's just so much sediment in it.
These are beers that are fully opaque. You cannot see through them.
Yeah, it's like drinking orange juice or pineapple juice or whatever. But anyway,
You can kill my taste buds, but you can't kill my taste for beer. Is that right?
that sounds like
Yeah.
a Bud Light slogan.
I like it. Oh God. When they get ironic with it.
Yes.
When all those Gen Z and millennials get hired on the Bud Light campaign.
Oh, geez, let's not go there. So
Okay.
So yeah,
All right.
I think a general consensus. Everyone like the beers is just be careful if you get these.
yeah, definitely check them out. These beers were both purchased. Big shout out to Bridgetown Beer House over off of Mississippi
that
in
place.
North Portland.
Love them.
Great people. They have a great can, single, and 4-pack and 6-pack collection of warm and cold. They have a great bottle selection of gigantic, big, rare beers, as well as, he rotates. The guy he spends a lot of time curating. And every time I go in there, it's great. He has about 10 or 12 beers on draft, and you can get one, and he has outside
yeah.
seating, hang out for a minute, chill, go in, talk to the guy, and he'll explain the beers to you, so you're not just grabbing stuff. But we typically grab based on label design.
The Blake method of selecting beers.
Which is fine because there's so many, and he always rotates every other week. He's got half of the freaking shelves are different. So big props to those guys for having a great beer selection.
Shout out to you guys.
And shout out to these two beer companies for making really good quality beer. I like them both. I mean, they both are outstanding beers from my opinion. One I think the bigger, darker one that's more bitter and full, robust flavor stood up to the film a little bit better than the Pono did. But that's just my opinion.
That's a good one.
I like it.
That's a good opinion. I'd put that on the internet.
Yeah,
All right,
I'd
let's
say
put
that
that-
for the audio track.
I believe we're going to finish off the episode with that.
Yeah.
And as always, the opinions expressed during the taping of this episode are those of the hosts. And we did not hydrate as much as we should have because we then,
We almost dehydrated.
we did.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure you hydrate or you will dehydrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be unpleasant.
Hydrate.
So, all right. Well, thanks for listening and hanging in, everybody. Check out the film, get some good beers to drink with it, and, hang out. Have a good time with your friends. Have a conversation as you need to.
Do your part.
Do your part. Be aware. And thanks for hanging in. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Later.